Hello, friends, and welcome to Rise Up in Real Estate, where we are on a quest. We are looking for the extra in the ordinary. And I'm Tad Fulford, and I will be your host on this journey where we will take an honest look at what makes ordinary people extraordinary. Exactly how can we be extra in our personal and our professional lives? In this season of the Rise Up in Real Estate adventure, there will be a monthly rhythm, meaning each month we will have 4 unique episodes. In one episode, we'll tackle a pressing current real estate industry thought. In another, we will chat with a local difference maker in the real estate space. For our 3rd episode, we will host a respected national thought leader. And finally, we will have a 4th bonus and surprise episode. And in each episode, we will be digging into not only what those people think, but who those people are. Along the way, it's my hope that you'll laugh some, you'll be challenged some, you will get inspired some, and if we are lucky, maybe even figure out a way or two you can rise up in your own life and be the best human that you can be. So the challenge is, let's all rise up. Welcome back, Rise Up Nation. We're here for another edition of Rise Up in Real Estate. And I've said this before, probably on every episode, but I want you to know that I mean it today. I really, really mean it. I'm excited about this episode. And I'm actually a little nervous because I feel like I'm interviewing a friend, but it's like a celebrity to me. It meant so much to me and Mandy and our development as humans and in our businesses. But I want to introduce you to my friend, Mr. Adam Contos. Adam, thank you for being here today.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Tad, and it's great to see you again.
Yeah, I remember part of the reason that we created this podcast, this is like a child that was born of your podcast, because I have listened to Start With a Win, a lot of the episodes, maybe not all of it, but a bunch. And I remember back in the day saying, if I could pull something like this off in my market, it might have some kind of effect, like a recognition. And when I talk to people in our market, they'll say, hey, I remember you, but I got this idea from you from a long time ago. So thank you for that. You're still doing Start With a Win?
I am. Yeah. It comes out every week, and we throw a lot of little shorts in there also. And just like you, we're putting it on YouTube and all the other social channels.
That's awesome. So how is, let me start by saying this because I didn't ask you this yet. How is your family? Everybody good?
Yeah, they're good. Kelly, my lovely wife, said to tell you and Mandy hello and send her best. But yeah, everybody's good. The kids, our youngest is in her last year of college at University of Oklahoma. And then she too will be off the payroll. So we're empty nesters, just kind of loving life and traveling and enjoying ourselves.
That's awesome. And I'm recording this from coastal South Carolina, but tell me where you are. Are you in Denver? Or are you outside of Denver?
I am at my office just south of Denver. In fact, if you're watching the video, you can see the, out behind me, the wildlife. I think there might be a herd of elk. Oh, no, they're gone. Just a few minutes ago when you and I were talking, there was a herd of elk out there running around. So we're just in God's country here, loving life.
Yeah. So, we really were. We probably were late getting on here because I was watching. If you saw Adam on social media, he posted a video of these stampeding elk, and I was joking with him about it. And as we were talking, it happened again. So that was pretty cool. And it's not something that we see here in coastal South Carolina. We see a lot of stampeding things, but most of it's college students, vacationers trying to get to the beach, etc. Tell me, Adam, briefly, because I know one of my favorite things about you is your journey, like where you were, like out of college to where you are today. Can you paint a picture for me? It's like a can-do story, and I just want to hear it from your mouth to our audience. Tell me where you've been and where you are now.
Of course. So the day after I graduated high school, I joined the Marines and did a little time in the Marines and into the Marine Reserves. And then I got into law enforcement. After that, I became a police officer in the Denver metro area, and then became a deputy sheriff at one of the fastest growing counties in the country, Douglas County, Colorado, which is actually where I'm at right now. And during that process, I became a 2-time college dropout. I tried going to school and it just didn't work for me. I didn't like learning from people who didn't know what they were teaching by practical application. which is kind of funny because now I teach at a business school, but I teach through practical application to the MBA students that I teach. I grew up in law enforcement, did a decade, became a SWAT commander, worked undercover narcotics for a couple of years, and then I started businesses. And as I started businesses, I got into the real estate space, teaching real estate agents how not to get hurt or killed doing their jobs. So I taught awareness and personal safety, how to react to difficult situations, and actually had some people tell me I've saved their lives in that process. So big win there. And then RE/MAX hired me. I did 2 decades at RE/MAX at corporate headquarters, helping franchisees, broker owners, and agents grow their businesses. And I ended up as the CEO and board director there. Retired from doing that about a year and a half ago. And I've been buying and growing businesses ever since as a partner at Area 15 Ventures.
That's good. So Area 15 Ventures is where you are now. Where I met you was at RE/MAX. And I remember the day that you told us you were moving on. And it was one of those bittersweet moments. Like you were always the guy that if I saw in the hallway, and here you are, CEO of an organization that had thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And when I saw you, you called me by name, you called Mandy by name, you would stop, look us in the eye, and you're looking at me like, of course I do. That's who Adam is. So it was bittersweet because I was sad for us, but so excited for you. And you're thriving now in what you're doing, right? What are your day-to-day? Is there a day-to-day that you do now, or is it just every day different?
Well, I'm still in the franchising space. So I'm on the board of directors of the International Franchise Association. So I do a fair amount of board calls with them and work on preserving, protecting, and enhancing franchising overall, because it is a federally regulated space, and we want to make sure that our franchisees are in the best place possible to grow their entrepreneurial endeavors. But I also I'm the interim CEO of a franchise company called Port of Subs, which is a sub sandwich shop that has 135 units in 7 states and has started growing regionally around the U.S. And then I also help oversee a lot of the other businesses that are kind of under the portfolio of the Liniger companies. So Dave Liniger and Gail Liniger, co-founders of RE/MAX, have a couple dozen different companies that I help them oversee.
Very good. And you said a minute ago that you successfully dropped out of college twice. But
yes.
aren't I correct that you now have your MBA, your Master of Business Administration? Is that correct? How does that happen for a college dropout? How'd you get there?
So once I started getting up into some senior leadership roles at RE/MAX, RE/MAX is a publicly held company. And having a higher level of advanced education in business is very helpful to somebody in the executive suite. So the board of directors said, hey, you're getting into the C-suite. If you want to end up ever becoming the CEO, you need to get your MBA. And I said, well, I don't even have my graduate or my undergrad here. And they said, well, you can apply to business schools for a waiver based upon all of your executive business experience, which I had many years of executive business experience at that point, running different business entities. So I filed for a waiver from University of Denver, and they said, yeah, we'd love to have you in our MBA program. And I got into that. I got a 4.0 in the MBA program. So apparently I learned something. So that's essentially, if you don't have an MBA and you don't have an undergrad, frankly, you can go get your MBA if you have some executive experience and go seek a waiver for the undergrad.
That's interesting. And you didn't get a 4.0 like my high school graduates do now. Like it was not on a 6.0 scale. Like now in high school, everything's so inflated. Like 4.0 is like a C average now, but you got it on the legitimate 4.0. A didn't make a B kind of a scale.
Yeah. In fact, to get an A, you have to get like a 93% in business school. So, anything below a 93 is an A minus. And, that made it a little more difficult. I'm like, I just need to get a 91. Nope, got to get a 93. But now I actually teach at that business school at the University of Denver, Daniels College of Business. I teach executive leadership as a professor there.
That is so interesting to me that I didn't know this about you until now, that you basically dropped out of university because you felt like you were learning from people that weren't doing it from experience. And then your experience allowed you to get into business school. And now you're teaching it from experience. So it's just a total 180. What do you attribute? Like, you have just an interesting journey. And I've always wanted to ask you this, because from being a Marine, which thank you so much for your service, and then your public service with the police department also, how did you make those changing decisions? What was it like when you were a Marine and then you said, okay, now I'm going to go do law enforcement, and then I'm going to go do RE/MAX? How did those, was it just taking advantage of opportunities, or how does it all unfold that way for you?
It's interesting. I mean, my dad was in federal law enforcement, so I knew I always wanted to be in law enforcement, and my uncle was a Marine. So that pushed me in that direction. But I also knew I loved entrepreneurship. I wanted to own my own businesses, and I started building businesses in the late 1990s. So I built an online police and government supply company in the late 90s when the internet was just infantile. And it was a really interesting environment to try and do business with a company online at that point. And then into the early 2000s, I switched that to a consulting company because I knew that service as a product had a great future. And, obviously a lot of people that listen to this provide service as a product. The reality is, if you're really good at providing that service as a product, nobody's going to take that from you, and you don't have to deal with supply chain, but you might have to deal with other, variables in the business model. So I kept, rise up in real estate. I kept rising up in entrepreneurship as I progressed. And I wasn't looking at my career as military, law enforcement, franchising, whatever it might be. I looked at it as challenges that people have and the problems that they have, and how do I meet them, earn their trust and confidence, and solve those problems. And all of these industries have that in common: is what's your problem? How can I help you with that? And then you implement some sort of a service as a product in order to do that. So that's how I looked at it. It was just the same thing, only it was called something slightly different in the industry that it belonged, before I would move on with it and, put the hurdles in my head behind me so that I could go build a strong business model in it.
Yeah. So to us, it seemed like huge decisions that were very different, but to you, it just seemed like another step in the journey of identifying problems, providing a solution, and helping people with that. Yep. That makes it probably more doable for you, because if you would have felt the things that I felt when you said, "Hey, I'm not going to be CEO of RE/MAX anymore, I'm going to go over here," I'm like, "Whoa, that's such a change." But for you, it's just a step in the right direction. So that's awesome. We do still talk about you. We miss you. We love the leadership there now. I mean, we still have and this is not a RE/MAX commercial, but since you and I are talking, an incredible amount of respect for Dave and Gail, and feel really, really privileged to have Nick at the helm, and I think Amy and the team is doing an amazing job. So, but we do miss you. There are a few in our past that were really dear to our hearts. So I just thought I would tell you that. What is your favorite? What's your favorite thing to do in your day to day now? Like, what about? Is it teaching? Is it consulting? Is it problem solving? What is it?
Wow. I think it's talking to people like yourself in order to help people find a greater future. So when you take a look at really, what does a business leader do? A business leader influences people to kind of step outside of their self-imposed limitations, give themselves permission in order to go do something that builds business, helps people, makes money, solves problems, whatever it might be. But ultimately, I like to be the catalyst for that particular movement in somebody's life. Now, that might be when I'm talking to franchisees of Port of Subs. It might be working with Daddy's Chicken Shack, one of our other concepts. And I'm not just throwing those out there to market. I'm excited about getting on the phone with one of our existing or future partners or customers to help them grow their business. Because, and Dave Liniger, the co-founder of RE/MAX, always used this term: when everybody's working in the same direction, everybody wins. And that's really what it's about, is you look for those wins. And however we create those micro wins, they add up to the macro wins, either through sales or delivery of service or uncovering somebody's challenges, whatever that end goal of the transformation that they're currently involved in. However, we can expose that and help them with it. That's what I like doing every day, Ted.
Yeah. So you spend a lot of time in small groups, one-on-one like this with Zoom calls or even in person. You travel. So where are the sub shops? I'm not trying to do a commercial either, but I'm curious now to try it. Because if you guys have your hands in it, it's got to be a good. Where are they?
We actually just sold 2 territories for development here in the Denver metro area. We're selling territories around the country right now. We do have a very strong presence in Nevada. So we actually have dominant market share in Reno, a significant number of stores in Las Vegas. We're in Phoenix. We're also in Idaho, Washington, basically California, essentially pretty much everything west of Colorado is where we're in existence at and continuing to grow strong there. And we're getting a lot of interest in growing east of those far western states also. That's
pretty neat. So next time I'm in Vegas in March, we're going to take a road trip and we'll go get, I'll ask you what I need to order, but we'll go experience one of your franchises. That's awesome. So you're doing a lot. It sounds like you're doing a little bit about the same thing you did when I experienced your leadership, is just finding out the best ways that we can build. We talked about this a lot when you were with us, is building the business that you need to live the life that you want to live, like being able to do that. So you're still doing that with franchisees now. I didn't know that. So that's what you're really good at. Are you how much time do you spend doing videos, podcasts, instruction? Do you have it blocked on your calendar? I'm just asking selfishly for myself and for those fledgling agents out there that try to do it. How do you do that stuff? Where do you put it in your schedule?
So I'm just a fanatic about understanding where I'm most productive in my day. In fact, gift for everybody, if you want to get inside of my time management system that I use, you can just go to adamcontos.com/mytime, and that will take you to my foolproof time system. And it's a PDF document. It's, I think it's 13 pages or something like that. But what it does is it helps you it gives you a time audit. So you just go in there, enter your email and your name, and it will send you the PDF and a video on how to use that PDF. But I look at 2 things when it comes to my time. And this is actually what I did to determine when I shoot these videos and I do these podcasts and build things in my day, is I look for when am I the very sharpest, best, most thought creative in the day. And that happens to be 2 time zones in the day. First of all, it's from about 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then it's about 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And then after that, I'm kind of worthless. So I take a look at my circadian rhythm and my willpower, which is focus, energy, and enthusiasm. And I build the productive parts of my day into those chunks. The non-productive pieces get the rest of the day. So if it has to do with, emails or whatever other garbage time wasting stuff we involve ourselves in, maybe I got to go to the dry cleaners or go get a haircut or get my car washed. Who knows what it is? But don't put the good stuff in the good time. So with my foolproof time system, you basically audit your time for a week. What do I do each half hour? Is it productive or non-productive? Some other things in there, Tad, that you would love, like, what am I grateful for? Quote for the day, productivity tip for the day. Did I drink enough water? How many calories do I take in? Things like that. What are my 3 goals for the day? Things like that. So you're structuring your day around how your day is created and then your circadian rhythm. And then you go back and make a plan for rearranging things to be as super productive as possible. So I've done that in the mornings, basically between about 9 and 11. I block out to do my best work of creating content and helping people that I can broadcast on a broad basis. That includes videos, includes podcasts, includes maybe Zooms with different organizations where I'm delivering value to those people instead of just consuming. Consumption, not as productive as delivery, because delivery is giving value. People will start to reciprocate that value through the factor of reciprocity. And ultimately, you want to do that when you are the sharpest. So that's kind of how I determine that. But my videos and everything are created mostly in the mornings.
If you live or own property along the coast of South Carolina, you probably need insurance. We Insure Advocates is a locally owned independent agency with industry-leading service support. Our team of customer-centric agents can explain your coverage options and help you craft an insurance program that fits your needs and budget. Data-driven for better value, people-led for better service. That's the difference of we. For all of your property insurance needs, please find us at weinsureadvocates.com or call us at 843-491-6990. Pretty cool. How did you discover that? Did you learn that in a school? Did you create it? That whole plan that you just told them to find us at adamcontos.com/mytime. Did you create that? Or
I created that. So I took a look at, I'm a fanatic for, I hate to call it time management, but it's more like choice management. What are you going to put where you're going to put it?
Yeah.
And I started looking at, like, Darren Hardy's a big influence on me. He's a great friend of mine. And I took a look at his Wheel of Life concept in his journal, Living Your Best Year Ever, which is a fantastic journal. I encourage everybody to grab a copy of that. But ultimately, it gets you to take a look at what are you doing and what's the impact that has holistically on your life, not just your business. Your business is only 1/8 of your life. But your happiness, your family, your relationships, your faith, your finances, all of those different things, your health. I mean, for crying out loud, if you're unhealthy, you're going to be unproductive. So you should always focus on all of those things together. And I started breaking down, where am I weak? Where are my gaps, my blind spots? And what I noticed was my performance was dropping in a lot of those times that I was stuffing things because everybody else was taking my time in my productive zones. So I would get all these meeting requests as the CEO of Remax for these times when I knew I should be doing things to make money for the company instead of going to a meeting and sitting there listening. So I started moving meeting times to those unproductive times, because most of, your stimulation in those is just gathering information. You should make your decisions when you're the sharpest. You don't need to go sit in a meeting immediately to make a decision. You should make it when you're your best, which is when you can be with yourself to sort through that, but gather the information during those other times. And I started building that into my schedule, and here we are. It's worked for me.
Yeah, that's neat. What did you call that? The wheel of life? Did you say that?
Yes.
The Wheel of Life. And that's based on that book, that Darren Hardy journal that you just mentioned, Living Your Best Year Ever. I have been this year, I think I talked to you early on in the year, last year, later in the year, about getting a coach, trying to find someone that can help me develop. And I actually chose Darren, and I've been doing his hero's journey. And I know you were going to be a part of that, but decided not to because of some other things. And it has been, it's been amazing. The guy is, if you don't know, if you haven't read Compound Effect, you should. If you haven't paid attention to, but he is no slouch. Like, you put yourself in a room with him, or even on a call with him, or even choose to watch him every day on his Darren Daily. It is a whole nother level of excellence, in my opinion. And some people don't like it. Some people are intimidated by it, scared from it, but you've always gravitated towards that. And I've appreciated that. He mentions you several times and Dave too. I guess David, he and Mr. Leonard have had quite a relationship. But when people live like you live uniquely, I like that. So I hope you guys listening took notes and just decided you're going to go to adamcontos.com and find that as a free gift for my friend. And I bet it'll make you more productive. And don't we all say that same, like 3:00 in the afternoon is like, everybody says it this way: I got to go get my coffee, if you drink coffee, right? Because you're doing this. Probably because you ate too many carbs at lunch, but we'll get, that's a whole other topic. So that's good. And so you actually do that now. So I contacted you, and Amy said he's got these times available, and that was in your best productive times. And here we are. So you're living that example. That's cool. Are you still very in touch with the real estate space?
I am. I get calls constantly from people in the real estate space, not just from Remax, but throughout the real estate space. And Tad, as you know, I didn't try and just build relationships internally. I tried to build relationships holistically, which because frankly, the real estate space is a transient population of business leaders. They will move from one brand to another. Hopefully they stay at Remax when they're here. And Remax does have a low churn rate for long-term people in the space, which is fantastic. It says a lot about everybody involved. But ultimately, we have to do business with everybody in the space, which means we have to care about everyone in it, and we have to try and help lift everyone up. Your term "rise up" in real estate isn't just for Remax people. It's for people in, frankly, in small business and in this space to make themselves better. Because when we all get better, guess what? Rising tide raises all ships. So right. I do get a lot of calls. I get a lot of calls from Wall Street analysts, people asking about the industry, want my opinion. But yes, I'm very involved in it, as well as in a lot of other spaces now also, because business is business is business. Right. Leading is leading is leading. People are people are people. It transcends the boundaries of what you call your industry.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think a lot of the things that you've learned in business school and you're starting to do in your life and you're doing in your life, it really translates to all. It even goes to if you want to be this way, it goes to your marriage. It can go to your relationship with your children, all of it, I think, which I've got a lot of experience in that regard. I don't know if I do it well, but I have a lot of experience. What, if you had a crystal ball, Adam, and I know, Darren Hardy would be ashamed of me for asking this question, and so would David Scott, because the market is what the market is, right? We perform where we perform. We help people where we help people, regardless of what the media says or Wall Street says or whatever. But where do you think we're headed? Do you have a hunch for my listeners for the next 12 months, next 24 months? What do you think the landscape is? And I know real estate's local, but overall.
Right. Well, overall, I would say initially Q4 in 2023 is going to be difficult economically. I think we're starting to have this kind of silent recession go on. A lot of people are like, no, we're not in a recession. And people, frankly, are afraid to give truth to the economic challenges that we're facing out of fear of being politically attacked or something of that nature. It's unfortunate, but the reality is it's difficult. When you look at the consumer price index, you look at the economy, interest rates are a perfect example, because in the real estate space, we're all, really head down and moving forward, trying to work with rising interest rates. They're going to keep rising because the government is trying to reverse our downward trends on a poor economy. It's difficult. It's really difficult because we have so many variables that are beating us down in this whole thing. So I would say now is the time to be better than you ever have been for anybody who's in business or anybody who wants to get results out of business. That might be, even if you're, a truck driver. Okay, how can you be the most efficient that you've ever been? Drive during the times when the traffic is lowest, figure out what you can do to maximize, your capacity, whatever it is. But everybody needs to take a look at their business, their relationships, and their finance, and figure out how they can make those things the best possible instead of just being a victim of circumstance right now. I've heard it put many times, and I've heard it put very well by friends of mine who've been injured or debilitated in some way, shape, or form. You can be a victim or a victor. It's your choice. It's your choice. It's not the environment's choice. There's a concept called locus of control. There's internal locus of control and external locus of control. Locus of control means basically where are we taking responsibility for things. Internal locus of control means I'm responsible for everything that happens around me, regardless of whether or not I had an impact on creating it. So the economy sucks. Yep, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to get better at managing my money and handling this marketplace. Sure, I have to buy or sell a house. Interest rates have gone up. I might be at 2.5%. Now they're 7.5%. Ooh, that's tough. You know what? It is what it is. Make the most of it by finding the best person to help you with that. Okay. Fine. This is when professionals really shine, folks. Be a professional. Same thing with, gas prices. Like maybe you have a company that uses fuel, drives things places, or your supply chain drives things places and your costs went up because of that. How do you create better efficiencies? How do you create a greater service to your customers in order to create more value and charge them a little bit more because you're delivering more value now and you need to cover your expenses? Whatever it is, you own it, okay? External locus of control is you're blaming everybody else. Oh, I can't do this because the economy sucks. Oh, my real estate business is dropping off because interest rates are high. Whatever. You can't blame somebody else for your results. Own it. Own your results and be the best that you can be. And guess what? You will find opportunities.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Right. And the people that you rub shoulders with mostly in your day-to-day and in the business doings that you're out there building opportunities, are most people were operating with an internal locus of control? Or do you still have high achievers, high performers that do external?
No, it's a realization. So sure, people they'll become emotionally overwhelmed or something like that, and they'll drop to external locus of control. But ultimately, I like to pick the people I hang out with and the people I do business with, and I want the can-do people, and those are the internal locus of control people. Misery loves company. All you got to do is look for the groups of miserable people, and you find more miserable people. Stay away from them. There's a key leadership tip there. You're not going to fix them. Don't try it. It's the people who are trying to find success and opportunity. Those are the ones you can lead to success and opportunity. So, A players hang out with A players, B players. They might be influenced by the C players, but they can become A players.
Right. I like that. Okay, great. I love that. It's real. So many people will when I ask that question with the crystal ball, they're like, oh, rates are going to come down. It's going to be great last quarter, first quarter. But I think it's, you got to hear the reality of what this economy is driving us towards. We didn't get here quickly, and we're not going to get out of here quickly. Right. So tell me about you. And most people don't like to answer this question, but I want to know what Adam thinks is his superpower. My belief is we're all created to do something. Like we're gifted, we go through things and we experiences, we learn. We're on the earth to accomplish something. What is that for Adam? What is your strength?
Tad, I think I have a radar for clarity in chaos.
Okay.
So and a lot of times people are like, oh, that doesn't do anything for me. But ultimately, I love to go into a really bad situation and find the win in that. And it's just, I don't want the easy path. The easy path is boring for me. The easy wins. Everybody's like, oh, you've got the number one football team taking on, number 32, and it's a complete blowout. And everybody's like, yay, that was a great game. No, it was a boring game for me because it wasn't a fight. I love the challenge of finding the clarity in the chaos. And I think that's where I garner my satisfaction, because you can always find somebody who needs that. You mentioned the crystal ball. Okay, we're in chaos right now in the real estate space because everybody's going, oh no, the interest rates are really high. There's horrible inventory levels. What am I going to do? You're going to get better is what you're going to do if you look for the clarity in the chaos. You're going to look for that opportunity and go out and build your business. You should be trying to be better this year than you were last year, even though last year was lower interest rates than this year. Okay, how do you do that? You go out and you become more efficient. You deliver better value. You work closer with your customers and get them to have a greater experience than they ever had with somebody in this space. And you find somebody who's the very best mentor, leader that you can possibly align with. I mean, you're a perfect example of this, Tad. I mean, I don't know why somebody wouldn't join your brokerage. This is not me on here to push Tad and Mandy, but the reality is they're trying to be better every day. Why wouldn't you align with that? So, ultimately that's what it's about.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And I think if you're going to write another book, Clarity and Chaos might be a nice title. Might be the title of this podcast after I decipher our notes, because I do see. I bet you were a pretty good hostage negotiator and this for the SWAT team if you did that. There's a book what was the book I read that was about that very thing, about how you find the calm in the Marines. You probably use that. You probably use that in the police. So now you're doing it as an entrepreneur. I love that. That's
yeah.
Really cool.
It's the same framework, right? But ultimately, no, I wasn't a negotiator. I was never a trained negotiator. But I can tell you that many instances, there are some where I was face to face, gun to gun with somebody, and I was peeling a hostage out of their arms. I had that happen a couple times, actually. I had a guy who was holding two little bitty girls hostage, had a gun in his hands, and I'm sitting there, and I got my gun pointed at his head, and he's got his gun pointed sideways. I'm like, this is not a good thing for these kids to be in. Hey, you know what? It doesn't matter if you're in a life or death situation like that, or you're in a circumstance where you're trying to help somebody figure out their greatest financial investment in their life. The reality is they're overwhelmed with emotion at the moment. And if you can take and start to unpackage that and find out, how can I help this person find a better outcome than where this is leading right now? That's what it's about, is creating greater outcomes, right?
Yeah, that's excellent. So I will plug as we wrap up, I'll plug your book, Start with a Win. Everybody should, I'll put that in the show notes. Everybody should go and get a copy of that. You've got.
By the way, all proceeds from that book go to Children's Miracle Network. I don't make any money on that. I spent
nice
$100,000 to write the book, but all the proceeds go to Children's Miracle Network.
That's excellent. There's and you get a good book with some great stories, tips, pointers. But I wanted to ask you, Adam, if you could tell us one book that's made a difference for you, what would it be? Writing that one, I'm sure did, and reading it probably does for all of us. But give me another one, a good one.
I have to go back to The Compound Effect. Darren Hardy, okay. The Compound Effect. Not only is Darren a great friend of mine, and I really appreciate all that he has done to help people get better in their world, but ultimately, the compound effect itself is a profound framework for building success. And it's not running out and achieving big things all in, you're not going and saying, I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. Right. In fact, Mount Everest is never climbed in one try. It's climbed in a whole bunch of tiny little tries that compound to find the success at the summit. Same thing with building a bank account. Same thing with building a customer base. Same thing with helping people through, a cause that you're involved in. It compounds over your consistent effort and focus on that particular item, whatever it might be. So success is not one big step. It's a bunch of teeny tiny little steps that compound over time. And that book is really good.
And it works. I've learned it works both ways. Negative things compound just as well as positive things compound. So I've read that I don't know how many times, and I've recommended it. So I'm happy to hear someone else. There's profound in the simple, I think, and I really appreciate that. Last question for you, my friend, and then I'll get back to the mating elk in your backyard. Tell me if we named this Rise Up in Real Estate because I'm not trying to necessarily create a movement here. But I do like the idea of rising above mediocrity. And I ask all my guests, is there something in your daily schedule, I'm sure there is for you, that you do that helps you rise up above the mediocrity of the day-to-day?
Yes, I write it down. So intentionality is about creating steps and a framework and a roadmap. So if you're just kind of guessing your way through your day, you're never going to get anywhere because you're just going to be pulled in every which direction by those distractions or the next, the squirrel that runs in front of you, the next shiny thing that happens, or even worse, you fall into TikTok or Instagram Reels or social media or something like that. I'm not saying don't advertise on those because those people that do fall into those are a lot more prevalent than those of us who don't. So frankly, life is about writing it down and then going after those commitments you just made to yourself. And that's where you will find results and success.
That's so complicated, Adam. That's so complicated, isn't it? I mean, we just try to find these mega complicated ideas and excuse me, you just told me compound effect, write it down. Easiest place for us to find you would be at adamcontos.com.
That's it, Tad. You can find all my social media channels, my podcasts, my book, and also the Leadership Factory, where I'm about to roll out the Leadership Transformation Blueprint. All the soft skills of leadership will be coming out here pretty soon in an online course, all at adamcontos.com.
That's perfect. Do yourself a favor, listeners. Find him at adamcontos.com. The whole idea of this podcast is networking and increasing your network so that you're not doing this whole thing alone. Adam, I can't say thank you enough. Hugs to your family. Much, much continued success for you. Thank you, sir, for being on Rise Up in Real Estate.
It's my pleasure, Tad. Thanks for having me on.
Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.